It's been a while. I was here briefly enough for a globe tour a few years ago, and that was awesome. It is, and I love those guys. Like, it sounds like Haslam and these guys, fun to travel with. But there's always something special about coming back to the UK for me. 2004, I think, is when we were premiering round 3, and UK was kind of the last stop. We'd come from Australia here, and Haslam was just coming out strong with that. And I remember that's right when my body was kind of like locking up. And I remember, of all places, we were in some theater near Trafalgar Square. I remember sitting back, and the British have always been the best to me. That's what I've always felt. I don't know what appreciation, whatever it is, but I'm taking it. So I sat back, way back row in the audience, and I just listened to it thinking, this might be the last time I'm ever here, thinking about that my body was done. And I just remember it was like the beginning and then what felt like the end, and now I'm back, and it just feels really good. Oh my gosh, so fun. One thing about Tony, he's always kept, excluding myself, he's always kept good-hearted people around him. As much as his fame, I mean, he's had more fame than all of us put together type of thing. But he's always kept that tight kernel of good people around him. I mean, that said, there was still a lot of people. But the guys that I know, they had that good-heartedness around them. So it was good. It was a little bit like a reunion, And then guys I didn't know that well, like Johnny Knoxville, for example. I see him around a little bit, a few times maybe, give him a quick hug, handshake, that's it. But it was good hanging out, really funny. It's weird. We were talking about Fabian Alomar, and he was like, I just worked with Fabian because I guess he was doing some acting. He got out of jail. I was like, oh my gosh, Fabian, I remember being next to him and Gabriel in one of those Tampa contests, and they broke a storefront window, and that was the only time I ever been pepper sprayed or maced or whatever. And then we were laughing, yet running and reliving those crazy days. And I just offhandedly, I go, have you ever been next to a storefront window when it shatters? It's like a waterfall, it's so, and I forgot who I was talking to, and he goes, yeah, I've actually been through one. It always centers around character and dedication to me. I think all of us as pros, we all aspire, when you're a kid, you want to belong to, hey, these guys are really good. And I think a lot of people's experience is, hey, they're really good, but I actually don't have that much in common with them. That happens all the time. And then you realize your friends are just where your friends are, different teams, and you can only hope that the majority of them are in the team you have. Besides that, like with the Bones Brigade, and maybe that's covered in the documentary a bit, it's not always just the heart that drives you. There's a business component, and sometimes there can be divergences. I mean, that's largely what that film was about, right? In this case, finally getting over time, when I was able to do things with Daewon and Mark Johnson, the people that I really liked, coming together with the Globe guys, it felt, not only did they create a team of guys that mostly you would connect with anyway, it was truly democratic that way. It usually really isn't, People raise their hands, yeah, I want them on the team, but they're feeling weird about it often, but it's peer pressure, it feels awkward. I've certainly been part of that. In this case, the heart of them, the Hills, they are committed to skating, and they really want to know, how do you feel about what's going on? And I respect them, and they're my friends, and they've put together, guys like this group, to travel with these guys is the best. And that's, it's not always that experience of what tour is. I think because of where I grew up and what skating meant to me, it was like this private expression, something I could keep to myself. And then even when I got good enough where I was like, all right, go on tour and okay, I can make my stuff, and people seemed stoked about it, I always felt weirdly self-conscious about it. I shouldn't have fallen like that, or should have done this trick, or I've always have this, always nags me. So is it insecurity? Maybe, sure. But the flip side of that is it's so precious to me, so always been so personal. It's been always hard to even, demos are kind of roped off. I could do them when I was doing them. But when it comes to just practicing and sort of breathing out the tricks in the way that I do, it's hard to have any eyes on me. It's become a meditation, always was. There was a lot of trouble in the house, when I grew up. And so a lot of times it was escape. And this is my private thing where I could just do whatever. And then college years, I remember that would be always my best thinking type of thing. You're getting out, of course you're doing your stuff. But then when you're relaxing and just flowing, it's amazing what dawns on you. And then the older I get, it's just different forms of that. And that's been conducive to making new things and allowing myself to just be in this sort of uncomfortable paradigm of the unknown that you have to be when you come up with different things. I love it. It's funny, the filmers, they see you at your worst. They see how lame you really are in real life, you know? And when you make that thing and the sacrifices that go into it, some of my deepest bonds are like with Socrates, and before that, like Mike Ternasky. I think in Plan B, we were also marked by his death because he became part of the actual tricks we did, both in inspiration and capturing them. When he died, it left a thorn in all of us of, it's not just a friend who died, but it became like this, it was also part of your skating, that you felt a need to keep driving for that. Mike became involved in our psyche as well as the tricks themselves. I can look back and I think he made me do that trick. He was there, what we did afterwards, that Casper Slide 360 flip. There's a lot of them that drove us crazy. And all that, if you want to say street transition, I laugh about it now. One of Rocco's, whom I love, right? He's like a brother. He loved that movie Trading Places. They bet each other this whole scheme over $1. He did that with my life, with Mike Ternasky. I bet $1 or something. They took away my board, you know, and they shook hands and made like a bet for $1 that Mike T couldn't make me into a street skater. As hard as it was, I mean, it was ridiculous. He would check my board to see if I put back on the plates, you know, the skid plates. But he pushed me, and as hard and as humbling as it was, like I don't want to say perfected, but it was deeply driven into me, my freestyle. And I won all that stuff, and then suddenly you just have to let it go. And that, again, that's part of your identity of, wow, what am I? Am I like a champion, or am I a freestyler? Whatever it was, I had it all wrapped in a bow, and now it's in the trash can. And I have to learn all these new skill sets that I don't even have, like the undergirding skills. Like freestyle, you just look down. When you street skate, you're looking at stuff. That simple little difference. And so I skated like I was blind, like I would plow into stuff. I couldn't figure out timing, like stupid stuff that little kids have ingrained in them. You just don't realize it because it's coming along. It's like an accent that gets built in. It's just in you. You don't know how you got it. I didn't even have that stuff. So I just sucked. And so gradually skating with the guys, and the way they still respected me, and they didn't really, like, they should have mocked me, but they didn't. And when I got sort of my, I guess you see ABCs, and like, you know, you learn crooked grinds, and you learn, I started to like, okay, combine what I'd done with that, and that, again, we talk about individuality, like why we do things. That's what gave me, in some ways, I can only regret that I didn't do it earlier, but all I know is I'm so grateful that I had that transition.